we have somebody very important coming to the stage right now. This is someone that is the co-founder of an organization called Code Pink. It's a women-led grassroots organization which campaigns to end US wars, global exchange, international human rights organizations, which educates the US public about the injustice and it advocates for peace. They have championed numerous causes all across the world. They've authored over 11 books. In 2012, they were awarded the US Peace Memorial Foundation's prize, and a previous recipient of that was nobody less than the teacher of our Professor Norman Finkelstein, our beloved Noam Chomsky. Please, brothers, will you put your hands together for our sister, Medea Benjamin.
Hello. It's a great honor to be here, to be with you here today. And I think it's important that we come together to talk about what we can do to change the situation in the Middle East right now. I have been somebody who's been fighting for peace all of my life, which has been over 50 years of, well, I'm 72 now, 50 years of fighting against wars from the days of the Vietnam War in the United States. And since October 7th, I have been joining with my colleagues, going into our Congress every single day to try to pressure them to change US policy. And people ask me, why do I care so much? I'm not Palestinian. There are a few reasons. One is that I'm a US citizen and I am so disgusted that my government is providing 70% of the weapons that are going to Israel. My government that has vetoed 40 different resolutions at the United Nations to provide cover to Israel. I also feel an obligation because as someone from Jewish faith, I see how my religion has been twisted to act as if the problem is one between Jews and Muslims. We know that Jews and Muslims have been living together for many, many centuries. The Jewish religion goes back over 3,000 years. It's the Zionist apartheid government of 76 years that we are fighting against. I also think it's important as a Jewish person to be speaking out against the accusations of anti-Semitism that have been hurled at so many people so unjustly. There is real anti-Semitism just as there is real Islamophobia. But speaking out against genocide is not anti-Semitic. I also am doing this work because I am a grandmother. I love playing with my grandchildren, but I can't do it without thinking about the children of Gaza, the children who are being slaughtered every single day, the children who are being shot in the head, the children who are now being starved, the children who are growing up now without limbs. I think of the little boy with no hands who asked his father, "Will my hands grow back as I grow older?" I also am doing this work because I am a human being. And I think anybody whose heart doesn't go out to the people of Gaza has lost their sense of humanity. And unfortunately, I find that loss of humanity in the halls of Congress every single day. I find people who call themselves good Christians, but they are Christian Zionists who are outside of the mainstream of Christianity and are only too happy to keep supporting Israel no matter what. I find people who are in the pockets of the lobby groups, like the pro-Israel lobby group AIPAC, that should be forced to register as a foreign agent, because it really is. And we find people in our Congress who have Israeli flags outside their doors. They are more interested in representing the Israeli government than they are the interests of their own constituents. I see people in Congress who are beholden to the weapons industry, because let's not forget, there are people who make a lot of money from war. The war in Ukraine, the war in the Middle East, the war in Sudan, and these people are in Congress every day too, providing money for the campaigns of our elected officials. And so we see, whether it is in the Congress or in the White House, a sense of despair that many of us feel. In fact, we're asked, who are you going to vote for in the elections? Could I possibly vote for somebody who's been in the Biden administration, a participant in this genocide, who is Kamala Harris? Absolutely not. Could I possibly vote for Donald Trump, who showed the 4 years that he was in Congress how he was willing to do everything for Israel and says right now that he is a better friend of Israel than Kamala Harris? Absolutely not. So we feel that we have a broken system. We have small third parties, and I will certainly vote for third-party candidate Jill Stein, but she cannot win given how our system works. And so we are caught in the middle of a rock and a hard place where we don't have the ability to vote for our values. And yet we continue to call ourselves a democracy. And you have to take into account what I think is quite amazing, which is the American people, just like the people in the UK, according to the opinion polls, have said for a long time, overwhelmingly, that they are in favor of not only a ceasefire, but now they are in favor of a weapons embargo against Israel. And so how is it that our elected officials are not listening to us, are not representing us? And so the only path that we can go forward on is that we have to make them hear us louder and clearer. And that is with our votes. That is also with the demonstrations. Raise your hand if you've been to demonstrations in the past year. Thank you so much for doing that. We need to keep doing that. And we're inspired by you in the UK, who get hundreds of thousands of people out like you just did last week, and continue to be marching. We're so inspired by the students. Yesterday we went to visit the students at the School of Advanced Studies to give them support, just like we've been giving support to the students all over the United States who have been setting up encampments, who have been protesting, who are demanding divestment, that their campuses stop investing in companies that support Israel. And we think it's so important to keep supporting those students because they are facing tremendous repression right now, being suspended, being expelled, their careers being put in jeopardy, and yet they continue on. We think it's so important to be participating in boycotts and divestments and sanctions because that is how we really affect the economy of Israel, so that the Israeli people start listening, and so our government start listening. We have a government in the United States spending almost $1 trillion on militarism. And yet, if you go to any major city in the United States, you will see homeless people all over. And we don't have affordable housing to give people the right to housing. If you look at your own national health system, yours is in crisis, but ours is even worse than yours. Try find good medical care in the United States, and it's almost impossible. We had 2 hurricanes that just ravaged some of our states in the last 2 weeks, and the agency in the United States that is supposed to deal with emergencies ran out of money. That was exactly the same time that another $8.7 billion was sent to Israel. We have a climate crisis, and we need funds to be put into that. The American people, just like the people in this country, are saying, why is there always money for war, but not money for the needs of our people? And that's why it's so important that we keep protesting, we keep getting out there, we keep putting the pressure on our governments until they start putting our resources into the needs of the planet and its people and not into killing machines. So thank you so much for having me here, and let's say together, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Thank you.